Hey, it's Chris, Liege Games. Let's do this Kickstarter Gamefound roundup this week. This is a big one. I wasn't kidding about it. Now, some people are poo-pooing it already because they're like, well, I'm not backing stuff this week. Well, that's fine because something between now and the end of the month is probably going to catch your eye unless you're just completely not going for anything. And February, again, I've been spouting January as this big month. February right now is probably twice as big as January. So if nothing tempts you in January, February will. If you missed it, I tried something new earlier in the week on Wednesday. A little bit of a reaction video breaking down, going through Marvel Zombies, Marvel Zombicide trailer. My thoughts, my impressions, a little bit of analysis all thrown in. Let me know if you like that one. I'll throw the link above. But that's not why you're here. Let's get straight to it. And I am already winning some of the bets on the over-under from last weekend. So awesome already. Liege strikes again. I'm thinking I'm going to go 5 for 5 this week. Let's do it. First up, Final Girl Series 2. I told you that this was going to blow things off the doors. And almost $700,000 less than 24 hours at the time of filming this. I just predicted that it was going to be over 400, which it was like 436 or something with Series 1 at the end of the campaign. But I thought hype was going to blow this one up, and it has. By the time this video airs, they could very well be double or more their funding from the first series. Now, again, I'm always tempted by a game like this, seeing the success, going, the grass is always greener. Do I need to get this with 4,000 people and $700,000 raised? And for me, the answer is no, because I don't play stuff solitaire alone right now. Solitaire is how I learn stuff right now in order to do it for the channel in terms of playing and teaching other people, but not for me personally as a enjoyable, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go play something on my Switch now that I have, or I'm just going to watch something. And so that's why I don't have a mechanical connection to this, but I also don't have a thematic connection to this as a horror final girl survivor of the last girl that survives in the horror movie trying to beat the killer. You mix and match between all of these, what do we got here? Like 10 different movies, and you need the core as well. And I'm guessing this is what, like 300 something all in. I didn't even look at this page before doing this video today, guys. So, wow, that's a lot of stuff. 329. Look at that. Look at me guessing at that. And I mean, it looks like you're getting maybe a little bit of extras with miniatures there. Is this the gameplay? Full franchise 299. So, okay. So like gameplay all in versus all in sort of thing. But again, $300 for a solo game, I guess, if you look at it from a Too Many Bones standpoint, right? That's a cheap entry point. So yeah, right? Feature film system, like it says, you're mixing and matching the feature films, the killers, the locations, the combinations that you can do. Double-sided boxes that are great. This is the combinations of things you can do right here. They just lay it out for you so you don't have to guess. Again, I've heard it's a little bit swingy. It's a little bit, I think, dice-driven as well. And yeah, dice-driven right there. And again, it's either for you or not. I hear people that really love it, and people that don't like it really don't like it because of those things. If you're looking for something a little more tactical, you might be better off with a Too Many Bones or one of Chip Theory's other solo games. Or even if you're looking for something in between, maybe you're better off with something in the Killforth line that just ended on Kickstarter. So they're revealing stuff, it looks like here, of the additional chapters, feature films, I guess. So again, I have no interest in this whatsoever, but I think it's worth covering because as I just talked about with Skytear Horde, which we'll cover in a few minutes, the solo side of things, not, as I said in my Skytear Horde video, not the games that have a solo mode, but games that are designed as a solo experience. They're becoming more the rage, and there's clearly more of a money pit out there that can be spent on these. So again, the differences between them, how many of them you actually need, it's more of the combination of things. You can check out the gameplay and the mechanisms here. It's an evolved form of hostage negotiator, they say. Only it's a horror theme. Again, buying new cards, killer be killed, dealing with the killer attacking you. Rules are out there, enough reviews are out there, there's enough combination of things out there. I guess with a solo game like this, miniatures are totally superfluous to me, so I have no interest in them, but I know some people will for more of the aesthetic feel, sort of like with the Awakened Realms side of things. Again, I don't judge you or anything if you're going to get them. It's just clearly, if I was going to get this, I wouldn't. So $160 is going to get you the all-in for either one or two, so I mean, it's not really too much of a discount if you're getting the full thing either. So yeah, there you go. That's everything. Stretch goals. Ooh, there are some stretch goals. Miniatures, epic packs. So it looks like you're actually getting some gameplay content here. So I don't see anything with Kickstarter exclusive. So maybe that's at least the one good thing. Again, a bunch of videos here and retailers. So there you go. Dice Tower. Dice Tower, this will be funded by, well before this video airs. They're doing their usual song and dance in terms of a bunch of promos, a bunch of promos, and then a little bit of everything non-board game related: bins, dice, sticker sheets, actual dice towers, meeples, pouches, coasters. I think they've got some bigger things up here, like custom video, or be on one of the videos. Now the all-in for all of those, so they're $50 each. You get them all for $240, so you get $10 off, I guess, and that's limited. Wow. Only 20 of 250 left. So that's where a lot of the big money is coming in right now. The all-in for everything, again, a lot more people there than I would have expected. Game show guest, custom stuff, breakfast at Dice Tower West, dinner at Dice Tower West. Behind the scenes. Now, I didn't look at their previous ones, but a lot of this stuff sounds very similar, like the solo and the audio show and some of the events. So I'm not really sure, how this differs from year to year, but, whatever. It is what it is. So, I mean, they'll hit most of those stretch goals. They'll probably offer some other ones that, aren't out yet. So, I mean, again, it is what it is. They've got a lot of popular games on here. A lot more enticing than the Man vs. Meeple. Man vs. Meeple had a lot of the game bundles that were enticing with their promos, but they have just more of the promo packs. And so, they've got them broken down by element this year. So that was their theme that they went with. So air, for example, let's just see what are all of them. Air, bone, crush, dive, egg. Elements. Yeah, right. Egg, dive as elements. Anyway, I don't know what I was thinking. That's how this day has gone for me. Ares Expedition, Trails, The Crew, Bitoku, Lunar Capital, Flick of Faith, Great Wall. So a lot of new stuff there already. Korra Quest, Unmatched. Again, a lot of new stuff in this one. Old Tree, and a few older ones in there as well. Lords of Hellas, ISS Vanguard. So at least you've got some of the ones grouped. One of the previous criticisms I had, I think, of last year's was they had like a Nemesis and Lords of Hellas, but they threw them in separate brackets or separate packs. So you had to get both of them in order to get the ones from the same company. And if you're like me, you tend to buy a lot of games from similar companies. So I have a lot of CMON games. I have a lot of, these games. I have a lot of level 99 games. So to put them separately kind of rubbed me the wrong way last year. So at least they've done that. But some of these games aren't even released though. I mean, ISS Vanguard, not released. Wild Serengeti, just finished on Kickstarter. Summoner Wars, literally just released. Mind Management, just getting to backers within the last couple months. So Mindbug literally just finished their campaign even more recently than Wild Serengeti. So it sounds weird that some of these are going to be delivered by the end of 2022 when most of these games might not be delivered by the end of 2022. So again, Zombicides, Flamecraft, again, a lot of the big ones that you've seen. Vagrant Song, side note, awesome game. Spoilers, it's going to be on my top 10 of the year. Not going to tell you where though, that'd be too many spoilers. Chronicles of Drunagor, again, this one literally funding right now, Rise of the Necromancers from Mythic Games. So I mean, a lot of just familiar stuff that you're going to see. So nothing surprising, just a lot of recent stuff, a lot of hotness stuff. And so again, it is what it is. It's a promo thing. There you go. It's going to be over $200,000 by probably tomorrow morning, and it'll probably be $300,000 by the time this video airs. So we'll see where it's at. Viscounts, the 2 expansions for Viscounts. And again, that was the battle of which one I thought was going to be raising more. Viscounts or Final Girl. All of you that picked Viscounts, you were wrong. I mean, you still have technically 24 hours by the time this video is airing, but I don't think it's going to catch up. So, again, but Viscounts and Garfield Games has a great backing and a great following, and they've put out solid stuff. It's just a question, with all of these other games, is do you need 2 more expansions for this game or not? And how much are these going to add? How much do you need them versus how much are they going to give you in addition? There's a collector's box as well. Now, the interesting thing is Garfield Games, and I give them a lot of kudos. This is probably my number one thing that I like about them, even though I have not played and do not have any interest in most of their games. They flat out say there's no exclusive items. If you prefer to wait for the items at retail, 100% okay with that. Choose what option works best for you. I give them more kudos from that right there, and I will prop them up on from everything from that side of things just by the fact that they are so transparent about that in the first place. They say, hey, support us if you really can. We'd really appreciate it. But if you can't, hey, it's cool, man. Do you. Again, looks like you're getting one for 26. Okay, that's not horrible. Again, what is this going to be at retail? I mean, who knows? I mean, chances are with the Garfield games, as with the other previous ones, you're probably going to be able to get it a little cheaper at retail. And it's where you want to put your money at. You want to put your money at your friendly local game store, maybe pay a little bit more and support them. If you want to buy them from one of the big distributors, you'll probably be able to get it a little bit cheaper if you get a free shipping bundle. If you get it from them, you're going to get it a little bit earlier, and it's going to be somewhere in between those two prices. It's just what it's going to be. And again, where do you want to divvy up your money? How strongly do you feel about supporting one? That's probably the biggest difference between any of this stuff. So again, I can't speak to what these are adding and the changes and how important these are. You know, again, new cards, a new board here, 6 castle leader cards, and more of everything else. And they have the rule books. There's enough video out there. Again, there's no mystery with a game like this in terms of what it's adding. You either know that, hey, look, these are things that I feel like I've played the game, base game, enough to know that I'd like a few more of these, or not. Again, thicker boards here, treasure tiles, more public buildings, more mechanisms to get more heroes, replacement starting townsfolk. Again, I have no clue how important these are. This is just a big box as far as I'm aware. Sleeve cards fits them. So again, it's going to cost you though. Now, if you want everything, whew, look at that. Talk about getting in, $378 for that thing. And this is going to, actually, that's not a bad price, actually. $74 plus shipping for the big box and the 2 expansions. That's a lot less than I expected, actually. So, again, take it for what you will. All of it is laid out very plainly and very simply here. So if you're interested, there you go. Next up, we have Puzzle Strike. As a side note here, side ramble, real quick. If you're watching this, please check out my other videos for this and Skytear Horde, because if you watch those, that tells publishers that you guys are interested in watching stuff that's on my channel on that accord, which is going to get me more of it in the future to be able to show off to you guys. And spoilers, I have some really big stuff coming up. I got some good stuff for you guys. I wasn't kidding about February. Was not kidding about it, guys. Anyway, let's get back to Puzzle Strike, though. Puzzle Strike 2. Spoilers for my other video. If you want to go over and give it a click and watch, I'll give you sort of the too lazy, didn't read, didn't watch sort of portion. I really like this game. I actually ended up going out afterwards and picking up Puzzle Strike 3rd edition with Shadows, just because how impressed I was in the first place by this, because this is my type of game. If you share similar tastes with me, I think you'll like this. Now, the Power Scepter thing, it's a little corny to look at, but if you think of it as sort of a King of Tokyo, if you will, a pressure luck where you're going to get an extra bonus power, but everyone's going to attack you, you're going to attack everyone else in terms of the crashing and the smashing of gems to get them out of your pile and into other people's piles. And if you keep it and press your luck, you're going to get a benefit, but if you keep it, you're also going to take some detriment. And again, it's going to be, it's a big price point. It is. It's a big price point, and they've said it flat out. They've said, you know what, with the premium that they're going to go with all of this stuff in terms of the components and everything else, we're just starting off at a higher price point. We're not upgrading any of this stuff. You're getting what it is. 10 different heroes right here in the base game with 2 of these decks. That's one thing I didn't clarify in my video. I put a little comment there now that it says, okay, with all of the expansions, I think there were literally something like 20 or 22 heroes total. So no concerns about the variability, because this Bold Advancers expansion had like 6 or total of like 4 additional decks right here that you're seeing of these. So again, no concern about replayability. I mean, it's a lot more than it seems like, and I think that was some of the questions that was on the forums that wasn't as clear on the page. I haven't looked at this page yet, though, because this is my first time actually glancing at it. Again, it's an interesting concept because you're stacking up these gems and you're crashing them, trying to keep them out, because if you end your turn with more than 10 in your area, then you lose. But you get a better bonus, you draw more cards, you do more gem damage to the opponent, the higher up it is, and you get these special powers. So if you match a certain number of each color, 4 of each color, you get a special power move. So you're balancing that while building your deck, and you're being forced to buy something every turn, so it gets rid of the stale market that can happen in deck builders. And there's enough uniqueness between all of these that I was really, really pleased with this. I was really pleased. The mechanics are relatively straightforward. Smash, convert, send over to someone else's incoming. Again, I think it's different enough that if you like deck builders and you don't have something, well, you don't have something like this in your deck builders. You don't. There's not really anything else like this. It's a good game. It's a very solid game. It's just the price point. I know this is an expensive price point, and that's the one other thing I saw people talking about. But I really agree. And oh, here's my quote, and it's a link to my video too. Again, this is a straight up quote. I'll flat out put this out there. This is a great game for me. If you don't like those things, if you don't like Take That, there's a lot of Take That in this game. So you just need to be aware. Do you like Take That with your deck builders? Because deck builders we normally think of as cooperative. So yeah, stretch goals. This is what I was talking about. He's going to try something different. And 200,000 to break even. So they're just saying that all of this stuff is just coming out. The gems that were sent to me in the prototype, I believe, are either the exact ones or very, very similar to the ones in Century. Century Golem, I believe. The diamonds are there. Glittery, I don't know. I could probably do without Glittery. And the physical toy scepter, I mean, I could do without that. I guess that would be the thing, is like reduce the price point and get rid of a few of these. That I wouldn't be upset by that whatsoever. If you made them tokens. One player co-op. Co-op could be interesting. I don't know how I would do co-op. One player would be fine. Exclusives. These were the two. Oh yeah, these were sent with me as well. So I think your total is like 22 then. Again, there's a bunch of stuff in here, so it's not... Yeah, okay, 4 new bank decks, each with a new mechanism. I could spoil it. I think actually in my video I put some shots in there that maybe I shouldn't have. Talking about them. I didn't put a lot of info on them, but I put the actual what their names were. So if you really are curious, yeah, it's all in my video if you pause it. So again, yeah, great game. Very happy with this one. Very, very happy with this one. Speaking of Skytear Horde, we'll just go straight to the other one. This one's killing it too. This one's actually more. I would have guessed the other way around, but I think this, again, just shows if you're looking for something like Final Girl, only you want a more accessible, more Hearthstone, Keyforge-esque game, this works. Again, it wasn't one that necessarily, again, strikes as home true to me personally. But sometimes with this, it's weird because I wasn't really in this position before I started doing these videos, where this game, recognizing quality game versus game that's right for me. And this is a quality game. It is not a game that I would look to play all the time, though, because it's a good solo game. And you just heard me say with Final Girl, I'm not a solo person primarily. However, it does have a 2-player mode, which unfortunately I've not had a chance to play yet. I've only played the solo. So again, it's offering something different. It's weird because it's sort of like a tower defense MOBA-esque game with press your luck. Because what you're doing is you're going against these guys and you're trying to decide, do I want to match up with them in the lane to engage them and either kill them or injure them or stop them from doing damage to my castle? Because if they do damage to your castle and your castle dies, well, you lose. But if you don't engage some of them, like the minions, especially in the back row, then they burn your deck. And if your deck runs out, you also lose. So how much of that can you do back and forth? And the other most interesting point in this game is you only draw when you kill one of their guys. So it engages something completely different. And I found it just a fascinating game from that aspect of doing things with cards and lanes that I had never thought of. It's not doing anything like, holy cow, this is the most innovative thing I've seen, but it's taking concepts that you're probably familiar with and doing them in a completely different way at the same time. And I think that's probably what is the most exciting thing about this. And again, I only played it as solo. I didn't play it as competitive. But I was very happy with the pressure luck aspect, because this, unlike Final Girl, is going to be, you play in 15, 20 minutes as a solo game. So I think it really does a great job from that aspect of things, because of this deploying and seeing how you're going to choose things, because you don't have to engage them either. You can put them in completely different lanes so that you do damage to these gates, so that the gates then are destroyed, because you have to defeat a certain number of gates before you get to the final guy, and then if you defeat the final guy, then you win. But the final guy also is super strong, and there's 2 parts to the final guy called the Outsider. Again, this was an impressive game. I wasn't expecting there to be this many nuances for a game like this. So if you're really looking for something, Alex has 2 quotes on this page. And I agree with him. It feels really solid. It's different. It's different without making you overly thinky or having to learn completely new things. So if you like that sort of thing, especially with a pre-constructed deck with a couple different decks to choose from in terms of the styles, Again, this is unlike everything else that I have, and I would really this 3. Uh he's sorry. It's solid from that standpoint. You won't be disappointed. Watch somebody else's video and check it out because it's worth it. And again, there's exclusives, so by the time you're watching this, you might already be a little too late. Uh expansion. I don't know if I had both the expansions. I'll have to check that. Miniatures, I mean, you could do without miniatures. I don't think you'd be missing anything there. But I think this is something definitely new and different. I give them a lot of props for this. Hey, look, there's my video. Awesome. That's pretty cool. So check out my video if you want to as well. I'm up there with all the big boys, apparently. MVM, Board Game Co., Quackalope. Hey, man, oh, that's pretty awesome. Give me a click. Okay, 2 in a week. Boom, shakalaka. Anyway, there you go. Skytear Horde. Next up, Yucatan by Matago. 100,000. Again, like I told you guys that people feel like there's money burning a hole in their pocket and people are just looking to spend. All of these projects all launching within, 12 hours of each other, essentially almost, and all of this money being thrown out. Now, there's obviously no $1 million project next week, but, again, this is not insignificant pledge amounts between any of these games either. So it adds up. It all really adds up very quickly. This is a Euro hybrid game from the designer of Kemet, as it says, and it's sort of the Mayan influence, I believe. And again, what are you getting here? Let's see. Price-wise, I'm just curious now. $80 for the base pledge? Okay, so $80 for the pledge at all. And you're like sacrificing, and you have to sacrifice your people to get, the benefits, but also you have to sacrifice, better and more each round. An hour of an intense game. That'd be interesting. This doesn't look like, to me, an hour of gameplay, right? I think it said 4 rounds when I was talking about it last week in the upcoming stuff. Yucatan, trying to get your people safety from God's wrath. Sacred cities, collecting resources, securing prisoners. You're trying to thrive in the jungle, spending your corn and jade to upgrade, and trying to decide what you're going to be upgrading. Again, okay, a little bit of there, a little bit of miniature, 9 monsters. Again, this doesn't strike me like the Kemets, the Cyclades, that aspect of things. They have never really appealed to me, so this one's an easy pass from my side of things. 90,000 euros, so we must be kind of close there right now. What are we at actually? 89,000. Okay, so we're basically almost there. And attacking, battling, collecting resources, the sacrificing. I guess again, how different is this? Because that would be the main question I'd have. As I said with the other games, with Skytear Horde and Puzzle Strike, I mean, there were distinctly different games from other things in my collection. But how different is this from those other previously mentioned area control games? So, Board Game Co. did a video there. Man, he's all over the place too. Pledge summary contains all that stuff. I don't know. Again, if you're a big area control person, does this appeal to you? This is a different theme. But it's sort of in line with the other ones of the ancient cultures, whether it's Egypt or, Rome or any of those ones. Japan, I don't know. This one doesn't do anything for me, but clearly, again, people are interested in it, and it's hitting a niche. So, area control with miniatures. Heard that story before once or twice. Check it out. Colab, relaunch, funded. Already almost 125% funded. I have a copy of this coming my way. So I totally missed the email. I totally apologized because I was supposedly going to be able to get this one before the campaign launched so that I'd have all 3 of these. But I completely missed it in my inbox, and again, my mea culpa. But I'll be having a copy of this so I can test it out, because this is doing something, as I saw it on the first time it didn't get enough funding, that people were saying as a dice worker placement. And the dice worker placement always intrigued me as a non-worker placement side of things, because I love me some dice. That it was doing, again, what I just said with the other stuff, unique things in how the mechanisms were working. And it's a competitive lab. And so again, it sort of has an interesting twist, because you're building these creatures, and it's like first one, to build like 12 or something wins. And that's going to be the biggest issue from my standpoint, is it's going to be dice worker placement, and it's going to be 1 to 2 hours. John, that's who was sending me the messages. And I apologize, John. My bad. I take full blame. But he's sending me a copy because I thought you guys would also be interested to see my thoughts on it as well, especially because I like giving my thoughts on things that are not normally me, because otherwise, you think of heavy games like the latest Lacerdas or that ilk or Voidfall, and you always get like the heavy cardboards and the heavy people. And sometimes it's a little bit hard to say, well, if you have somebody who really loves these games in general, they're going to love this game. But how do you get, or how do you engage, or are you getting the people that aren't necessarily your core audience engaged in this? Because that's really telling of a great game. Like I'm looking at right behind the camera right now. If you missed me talking about it, Doom Imperium. I love that game, and I can say without a doubt that that's a game, a worker placement game that's going to stay in my collection right now forever, as far as I can tell. I mean, I'm going to be looking and getting the expansion when it comes out. One of my top 10 lists. But I mean, that's the sort of thing that appeals to people that aren't me. So, I mean, especially if, I mean, your worker placement people are going to love that. But are you going to get the non-worker placement people? And so that's what I'm looking at this is going, okay, is this going to appeal to me? Even though, again, the difference between do I recognize this is a good game, who is this good game going to be for, and me not being good at it are two separate things. I'm horrible at Dune Imperium. Horrible. I still like it a lot. Those two things are not necessarily mutually exclusive. Sending your minions out, getting your scientists to a laboratory space to build some stuff, collecting dice. I like collecting dice. Building cards. I like building cards. And creating a grid. It reminds me very much of power plants, which I backed. Which again, I like building grids about how you're spatially organizing these things in order to maximize the effects and the powers. So, and the fact that you get to do that really makes me intrigued. Because I'll be frank with you guys again, and I apologize, John. I wasn't as in tune with this one last time, or even when I said yes. All I knew was that it was doing some interesting things from dice worker placement with a mad scientist vibe and a little bit of this. Now that I'm actually looking at this page, I'm actually even more excited because I could see myself again, sort of like I did with Dune Imperium, where I learned it solo and played it a couple times solo before I even played it with anyone else. So I'm kind of now excited to try this one solo, even to play it first. So I kind of like this. Your solo mode can be used in 2 or 3 player games, bringing these reckless opponents and disruptions to your mall. Okay, I kind of like this. Okay, I will probably be looking at the rulebook later. John, you've got me more intrigued now. Hitting some stretch goals. And congrats, by the way, for funding, because this was one of those games I definitely looked at the first time around, and I said, why didn't this fund? Like, there was no reason. I think the only thing that was maybe putting people off last time was it was like a miniature with the worker placement, which again, whatever, if it's that good a game, it's gonna fund. And 45, 60, yeah, okay, good. Board Game Co. Quackalope. These guys are on every single page this week so far, almost, that I've looked at. So those two and Rado. There you go. Add-ons. Kind of like that. Oh man, I kind of want to buy that for my 1-year-old right now. We're trying to get him attached to like stuffed animals. So we've got a red panda, 2 red pandas, and a sloth. My wife threw the sloth in the kid's bed the other, when he was about 6 months. But he just hasn't really attached to anything, and he's really interested in Batman right now, but at the same time doesn't want to snuggle them. The only ones he kind of snuggles is one of the red pandas that I bought him for his birthday, and a little bit of the sloth one. So he really likes cats, though. Like, we have 2 cats. And the reason you haven't seen the cats, total side ramble right now, is because I'm still in the upstairs studio, and my junk collection room that used to be an office. But he really likes cats, so I kind of want to get that plushie for him because it's kind of creepy, and it'd be really kind of freaking fantastically funny if that was the one he attached to. Anyway, again, it is what it is shipping wise. I don't even look at shipping nowadays. I don't know if you guys do, because if I really want the game, I don't really care what the shipping is going to cost unless it's like obscenely like 50% or the price of the game in the first place. So anyway, Colab, I'm gonna have some more thoughts out in the next couple weeks, next week or two, hopefully. It's killing it, 40,000 in the first day already, as well as going up against this competition. So again, I'm impressed. There you go. I'm really proud of myself this week because I didn't forget about the Gamefound ones until the very end. I actually remembered it right in here. And so we're going to talk about the Rise of Necromancers from Mythic Games. And this one's offering 2 expansions as well. I believe one is the new one, the Undead Sea. But again, already $127,000 funded. And I was sort of watching this one very early in the day today to see how it did. And it kind of started off slow, but then it's ramped up throughout the rest of the day. So again, has no problem from that standpoint. You're a necromancer. You're recruiting, you're an apprentice, raising armies, and trying to conquer, trying to get the King Necromancer, essentially. So 9 days. This is not a long campaign from Mythic, which is a little surprising. Let's see. I don't actually know anything about this in terms of mechanics, so let's take a look together. What are we getting here? Again, a little bit of maybe area control. I mean, it looks cool. I like the aesthetic of the board and the cards. So let's see. You're getting all of these minis that go along with the stretch goals if you're going to $100 pledge. So 3 expansions it looks like here. The Foul and the Wicked, the Undead Sea, the Dawn and Demons, and the Grim Harvest. So 4 expansions. Okay. Again, I know nothing about these expansions, so that's not horrible for 4 expansions. Necromancer Pledge gets you the Grim Harvest. Old Bones gets you just the 2 expansions. So is there 2 new expansions then? Okay. Or is that the Grim Harvest box? Oh, it's a box. So it's 3 expansions in a box. Okay. What is the Grim Harvest actually? It contains all the miniatures. Okay. Many stretch goals will be added to this box from the campaign. So that's the potential stretch goal box, essentially. Okay. So you've got some miniatures, basically. So it reminds me more of their campaign that from like a year or 2 ago of Hell, HEL, where they did like all the exclusives were miniatures, essentially. There wasn't a whole lot of gameplay content. Which, again, how do you feel about that? Plus or minus, right? Okay, again, how are you doing this? We talked about what you're doing. First one to place all 13 of their counters and be crowned king. So what are you doing on an actual turn here? Because this is the one I'm probably least familiar with in terms of gameplay. Playing items and spells, revealing your identity, 4 type of minions, and you can move and perform any actions on the space you've entered. How do you place them? Survive a dungeon or seize a city. Okay. So are we just looking at area control here? Again, workbook here. So what's this bringing? Solo and co-op modes. I like the idea of having a co-op mode in this game. But it's expensive to be able to have to get the expansion just to, at the same time, I say that, but I'm actually happy that they said, you know what, we're going to only do this in an expansion, because otherwise, that's the critique I offer on a lot of these other games where you have all 3 modes built in no matter what. So they look like they maybe specifically designed it with this in mind. I kind of like that. Summon demons on your behalf. Undead Sea, new game board. Okay, that's cool too. Again, each of them is adding something specifically different. I like that. I give them a lot of kudos there. Staying piecemealed, so if you want one of those, you're not just getting it lumped in. You're not just getting the new board and having to pay the cost if you don't want it. You're not getting the other modes if you don't want them. I like that. I like that. Now, I'm not sure I need the miniatures, so maybe from my standpoint, if they were going to be colored, okay, maybe. But without them being colored and, just being generic plastic, I could probably pass on it if that's the only exclusive in terms of that. So a bunch of the pictured ones. What else is here? A bunch of videos. Like, this is a game I'd want to play first, especially like the competitive versus the cooperative. Like, I could see myself really liking this cooperatively. So we'll take a look at the rulebook really quickly here. So phase 1, you're playing your cards down, and the cost is in the lower left-hand corner. Some cards are free to play, so they run through the types of cards that you're going to have. Spell cards, item cards, necromancer, or apprentice cards, raising a minion. So what do you need to do to raise each one of those types? Obviously, the bigger ones are going to cost you more in terms of your undead army. That's more the area control aspect. You get to move them around or move your guy around as well. You have to take the action of the place you land on, essentially. So nothing terribly complex, but with some nuances in each of these different areas. Yeah, I might go look into this a little bit. This is one, I would be really interested to try out because I could see myself really liking this. Spells have levels. Oh, that's interesting. I like this. Optional rule where you can attack each other. Okay. Depending on how take that you want it to be. Okay. Cool. I'm actually more impressed by that than I was expecting. Mythic. Yeah, you've got me. I think this is a Mythic game now, but they were previously in conjunction with... Oh, Sore Loser Games. Okay. Yep. So there you go. I understand why it's funded. So, yeah. Next up, Sink or Swim. This is a 3 to 6 player game where you're doing synchronized swimming, trying to, I think it's real time. Yeah, just a few minutes, and it takes about 30 to 45 minutes to play total. Timed companion app that you are just trying to match up with. So it's a truly cooperative game, like it says. I know it's got an app, so I know some of you are very strongly pro-con app. How to play. Deal out the cards, show the elements in which you need to play them, and trade cards for the cards you need, and place them around your swim platform, and stop the timer and see if they were successful. So again, it's more of a party-ish game. but it's unlike a lot of stuff we've seen. So, I mean, it's something different, and it's from Bezier. So, I mean, they wouldn't have signed it if it wasn't good. So, what is the price point actually on this one? I'm curious. I skipped over that part. $20. That's not bad at all. Yeah. Something new, something good, something cheap. With all the other expensive stuff that we just talked about. Sink or swim. Now, Guardians of Fire. This one was interesting because there were a lot of flags about this one the first time it went up. How similar it was to other stuff out there in the first place. Again, the miniatures are never any problem in these situations. But it looks like maybe they've got something more solid, because if they're doing a preview and they've got a couple other reviews, like there must be something gameplay wise that people can compare it to. So it looks like you're playing with a set amount, you can't scale it. So that's, I mean, that's the big problem with a lot of the dungeon crawlers. They've balanced to a certain number of characters, and so they don't scale as well, and that's always interesting because there's not many that do that. Looks like it's a 1v all though, so I didn't know that. Move, search, action phase. I mean, this looks very similar to Massive Darkness in terms of some of those mechanisms. I'd be interested to see people who have this one compared to the other ones, what this looks like. Again, the miniatures look awesome. And this is a big page with a lot of miniatures and pictures and art. I mean, the art's great. The miniatures are cool. But I guess the question always is, again, like I said at the beginning, why do I get this over something else? What makes this different than the other dungeon crawlers that I have? A little bit of stuff there. I mean, looks like there's enough stuff. I don't think there was this much stuff on the page last time. So clearly people have had hands-on copies, and so they can compare it and talk about it now. So we'll see what kind of comparisons are out there. I mean, it's got 25,000, and more of this one flew under the radar. So, you know, I don't know enough about it to say too much else otherwise, but check it out if you're interested. Next up, we have Hostile Hoarders, the card game. It's a relaunch. It's over 40% of the way funded, almost at 50% of the funded, which is actually relatively impressive. I guess I'm just always a little turned off when you've got like a little bit of this going on, this undies, slingshot, and nut sock, and whatever she's supposed to be on the front page. That's just, I mean, I think we're getting a little bit, it's just aesthetically not for me nowadays. Hostile Hoarders, I mean, it's a game about nuclear apocalypse. You're taking stuff basically from a delicatessen or from a chef or a restaurant standpoint, and using it to fight off and survive each other. Let's see what we got going on here. You start with 4 weapons, hand of 4 cards. On your turn, you get 2 actions. Actions, drawing a card or attacking an opponent. So this is a big take that game. Attack versus defense. Winner wins, and they get their reward. So you get more stuff by matching icons and getting higher values that way. Instance, aid your strategy, and it's just getting rations is the first one to be the winner. Interesting. Okay, didn't need to see that. Price points, $19 for a copy. What are you getting here? I just, some of the phrasing, I'm just like, you know, I'm mid-30s now, and this doesn't do it for me. 29 is going to get you a bunch of expansion packs and additional stuff, and $49 is going to get you everything, looks like. If you want a copy of yourself in the game, it's going to cost you $750. There's a little bit of video, there's a little bit of everything. They're doing some unlocks here if they get some social stretch goals. Weapons, they give you a little bit of overview of stuff that you have on there, and a little bit of the sampling of the cards. So there we go. That is it. That is Hostile Hoarders. Check it out. That's it. That is the roundup for this week. Tomorrow's video, we're going to be talking a lot of Marvel Zombies. Just frankly putting it out there. Now, obviously, there are other titles. There are about half a dozen other titles as well that are going to be launching next week, and we will cover those in addition, but Marvel Zombies is going to have a lot of my attention. Again, check out my trailer breakdown. It's going to have a lot of my thoughts, and I am going to clearly, because I have to, do a should you back Marvel Zombies once we get more information. But the question is, I'm going to put to you guys right now, I'll put it to you tomorrow as well. Do I rush to get it out like everybody else, so that I get the clicks in the views to have it right at the beginning, and then do updates later, like, updated, now that Simon has shown their 6th expansion, I'll put out my 6th update since then? Or do I wait until later in the campaign? Or are you going to be more likely to get it and talk about it and click on it later in the campaign when I have almost all the information in one concise place? What do you think? I also have a bunch of reviews. I have been getting review copy after just games of my own played this week, including spoilers. I'll put this right here at the end here. The best Kickstarter from 2021. Oh yeah, clickbait right there. Okay, and I'm gonna have a bunch of previews too. So previews, my impressions videos coming up in the next month as well. So that's all I got. A little ramble at the end here. My wife and I, we keep a little diary of like for the kids, and so just like little things like things you never remember, like, you know, a year later, 2 years later, 5-6 years later. And so she was reading the 7-year-old some tonight at bedtime, and he is just in the other room, just hysterically laughing. Hysterically laughing. My wife comes out about 20 minutes later and she's like, I was crying. I was laughing so hard in there, more because of his reaction to the things that were in there rather than just the fact that I thought it was so funny. So anyway, that's all I got. And the month of January as well, the month roundup at the end of this month, I'm going to have a lot of discussion on a lot of games there as well, because I have already played, even halfway through January, I have probably played at least half a dozen, if not 6 or 8, somewhere in that range of new games to me so far. So I'm really hitting strong as well. Okay, that's all I got. That's more than enough ramble at the end. Stay classy. I'll see you around. Hopefully half of you made it to this far. If you didn't, that's okay too. I still like you just as much.